Welcome to StopFake, the place where we identify fakes and debunk them to set the record straight on disinformation about Ukraine. I'm Marko Suprun, and this week we consider if France really recognized the Donetsk People's Republic, why Ukraine's economy is dying, and Russian lies about an accident at a chemical plant in occupied Crimea. So let's get to the details. On September the 6th, the so-called Donetsk People's Republic Representative Center in France announced that France had officially recognized the legitimacy of the center and also de facto recognized the Donetsk People's Republic. The chairman of the center, Hubert Fayard, who calls himself a DPR honorary consul, called this a great victory. But was it really? Well, at the request of the French Foreign Ministry, the prosecutor of Aix-en-Provence sued the DPR representation and asked for its dissolution since it was, quote, a semi-diplomatic representation that had disturbed the state and international order. On September 6, 2018, Aix-en-Provence High Court rejected the dissolution of the DPR Center as, quote-unquote, its unlawful nature or purpose was not established. Fayard issued a press release hailing this great victory and claiming the court decision is de facto recognition of the Donetsk People's Republic. This is a snub for the Kiev authorities and for the Quai d'Orsay, Fayard wrote. Now, while the Aix-en-Provence court did not dissolve the DPR representation, it also did not confirm its legitimacy or grant it any official status. France does not recognize the self-proclaimed Russian-supported separatist republics and supports Ukrainian territorial integrity. The representative center of the Donetsk People's Republic in France is registered as a public organization and has no diplomatic standing whatsoever. Hubert Fayard, a former far-right elected official, inaugurated the official representation of this republic in Marseille in September of 2017. It appears to be a single room in a rundown building. Ukraine's economy will not survive cutting off trade with Russia, declared Ukrainian Member of Parliament Vadim Rabinovich. A member of the pro-Russia opposition bloc faction, Rabinovich regularly claims that the free trade agreement with the EU is harming Ukraine's economy. His distorted view of Ukraine's economic realities were disseminated by scores of pro-Kremlin media. The free trade agreement between Ukraine and the EU entered into full force in September of 2017. According to Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, during the first year of the agreement, Ukrainian exports to the EU grew by 30%, resulting in $17.5 billion profit for Ukraine. During the first 4 months of 2018, the trade turnover between Ukraine and the European Union grew by another 27%, Poroshenko wrote on his Facebook page. According to Ukraine's Minister for Economic Development and Trade, Stepan Kubiv, exports are the engine of the economy, and in 2017, exports made up 48% of Ukraine's GDP. According to Ukraine's State Statistics Service, the real GDP level in the first quarter of this year increased by nearly 1%. International investment in the Ukrainian economy is also growing. According to data published by the State Statistics Service, in 2018, the volume of direct foreign investment in the form of share capital increased by more than $1 billion. Crimean occupation authorities are going out of their way to reassure the public that there is no environmental danger from the unexpected and unexplained chemical emissions at the Crimean Titan factory in Armyansk, northern Crimea, claiming there is no danger, atmospheric pollution is at permissible levels, and there are no health hazards. On August 23rd to 24th, an unknown substance spewed into the atmosphere, filling the countryside with smog and a pungent odor. Social media buzzed with reports of houses and cars being covered with plaque and rust and an unknown haze hanging over the area. People began experiencing eye and throat irritations. Crimean occupation authorities and Russian media ignored the events for several days. On August 28th, the leader of Russian-annexed Crimea, Sergei Aksyonov, acknowledged on his Facebook page that unknown emissions were released into the atmosphere. That same day, Russian President Vladimir Putin's special representative for environmental issues, Sergei Ivanov, suddenly appeared in Crimea, and Aksyonov finally admitted the Crimean Titan plant could be responsible for the emissions. As scores of people began experiencing breathing problems and panic started to set in, Crimean media began churning out reports that the emissions did not pose a health hazard. Crimean's occupation administration conducted air quality checks with the same predictable result: no increase or harmful concentrations in the atmosphere beyond what is permissible. Sounds familiar? April 1986 Chernobyl? The Kremlin said everything was normal then too. On September 4th, authorities began evacuating children from Armyansk. Aksyonov insisted that this was not an evacuation but a holiday. He reassured Armyansk residents their health was not in danger and there was no reason for introducing emergency measures. The emissions cloud reached the Ukrainian mainland and spread through the Kherson region. Ukraine's State Border Service reported growing pollution along the administrative border with Crimea, and on September 6 temporarily closed the border. Ukrainian authorities have moved children and pregnant women from polluted areas. Ukrainian authorities identified the emissions as sulfur dioxide, a major air pollutant that has significant impact on human health and is a precursor to acid rain. They found sulfur dioxide levels to be 6 times higher than normal. Sulfur dioxide is a carcinogen and can seriously harm the respiratory system, burn respiratory membranes, and even paralyze your breathing. Ukraine has advised the UN, the OSCE, the World Health Organization, and the Red Cross about the harmful emissions. President Petro Poroshenko has invited Crimean children to health camps on the mainland. Meanwhile, Crimea continues to deny the seriousness of the situation, while Russia publishes stories about the happy children of Armyansk resting in Crimean resorts. And Russian media, following a well-honed Kremlin narrative, are accusing Kiev of creating a diversion at the Crimean Titan plant. That's it for this week. You can find more dissected disinformation on our website, StopFake.org. Be vigilant. Don't consume fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, as always, send it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.